What's up, everybody? Almost solo today. Jed's not here, obviously, because he's just out of town again. But anyway, I'm here with Brendan from last year's model.
Hey.
So, Brendan, I've heard around the rumor mill here that you just released is it your first single ever?
Yeah, it's first single ever.
And it's on iTunes, Spotify, all that. It's
yeah,
called Alice.
Anywhere you stream music. And yeah, it's called Alice. And it's been a labor of love here for the last 8 months getting this whole thing done and working on our EP. But this is the first single from it. The full EP is going to be released later. But yeah.
So it's actually, you're going to be releasing a full. Mm-hmm. Okay. So as last year's model, as a band, how long have you been with this project, and from being that long into actually getting your first single out there? Like, explain to me that kind of that process, like why it took so long, or
why did this take so? Okay, so you know a little bit of the backstory here, so you're pushing me, and so yeah, we've been a band for 14 years, and we're just now releasing our first single. That's what you're getting at, and here's the reason why. The band started, I met Tim, my bass player, at church, and honestly, it just started as something we were doing for fun on the side, and there was events that needed bands, and so we were like, gosh, most of the stuff out here sucks, so let's put something together. And then it just kind of evolved into starting to write our own stuff. We had a couple other band members. They came and went. And then we ended up meeting two other young guys, and their names were Jarrod and Jordan, and we all started playing out. And Jarrod does keys and guitar all at the same time, and Jordan's our drummer. And we started playing out, and we were playing like 5 to 6 shows a year, minimal stuff. And then we ended up playing at this place called Main Street Cafe, and this guy that was on the soundboard was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you guys," and that kind of put, and I'm talking about Daniel in case anybody doesn't know, and that kind of made us go, wait, maybe we have something here. We never really took it seriously. And then once we, started getting a lot of love there, and other events and other venues started picking us up like crazy, we realized we needed to record. Then it became a matter of finding somebody that we could record with that understood what we were doing,
what you're going for, the sound you're going for.
Yeah. And then I kept having experiences with studios. We tried a couple others, and I kept having experience with studios where they were telling me what they wanted us to sound like. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, this is how we sound already, and we're not looking to do anything, and I'm totally cool with producers having input. Our producer we worked with on this, his name's Zach McCord, incredible guy to work with. He gets it. He's a musician himself. He doesn't tell you what to do with your songs, but he does make suggestions. And 99% of the time, his suggestions are better than what you were doing. And so, that was a really good experience to work with Zach there. And so it just finally was one of those things of finding somebody I clicked with personality-wise and artistically that could help get us there. So, yes, that's why it was a 14-year process.
I didn't realize that I was such an integral part of that. But
huge part of it.
I remember seeing you guys for the first time. And
your exact quote was, we were just sound checking, and your exact quote was, "Hey, do you guys want to be my house band?"
Yeah, I love it. I love the music so much.
And so it was one of those things where, and then the response of the crowd that night was huge. And we were in the middle of an odd show.
It was
That show is like, it was us and metal. It was in...
well, it's hard to find in this area a band to fit you with because, you're a Christian band. And a lot of these bands that are around here aren't. And they don't, there's no like religious aspect behind these bands. So like me trying to fit you with a show was tough.
Yeah.
So,
and that was the thing, that was one of the other things is like, we weren't trying to be a Christian band per se, but it was definitely one of those things where when we saw some of the other bands, we were like, do we play this? And then, honestly, it's at a point now where it's like, we realized we've developed really good friendships with a lot of bands that I can't imagine, I don't know, for King and Country, sitting down with and chilling out. But we don't even play. I wouldn't even call us a Christian band because The Christian market sucks, and most of the bands in the Christian industry suck. And I look at bands like 21 Pilots that are just saying screw that and just doing it and just making good music, regardless of what the faith is or regardless of what their background is. Just making good music is the priority.
Yeah, and I think that if you label yourself as a Christian band, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
but in the music scene, it's almost a bad thing because you're putting yourself in that. You're pigeonholing yourself.
It's limiting. It's extremely limiting.
And venues are like, oh, we're a bar and you're a Christian band. We don't want you. But being Christians in a band, that's kind of what I was getting at. You're not, you're not a.
Well, we have found the bars love us because they always give out drink tickets,
and you don't use
and
them.
we don't use them. so they're like, we must save money with you guys. It's awesome.
Keep coming back. That's why we like playing with you, because you can just give us drink tickets.
And we do.
Yeah. So upcoming shows, projects. I mean, I know you've got your EP coming out at some point. Do you have like a timeline for that?
I'm hoping, and I'm not gonna this isn't concrete, but late spring, I hope to have the whole project done and out. We'll be looking at, got a couple more things to do on the EP, vocals, and do some other things with some of the tracks. But it's close to done, but not quite. And we're still writing one more song for it that hasn't been played before, so. I'm definitely, that's going to kind of be a surprise for all the people who have come to our shows and they've heard all these songs. So there's going to be something new for them there. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have an exact timeline for that. And then shows, right now, it's dry out there, man. Locally, it's dry. The venues are dry. And I don't mean you basically, and this isn't to disrespect any venues, because I'm sure there are venues I'm unaware of that are doing it, and, you just don't hear about them. But basically, you got 1, 2, 3. I mean, that's it right now.
And if you're in the in crowd, you've got main stage, but that's you have to know people.
Yeah,
that's what annoys me.
So you've got 1, 2, 3, and they can't book you all the time because they're trying to book shows and they're full, and they're bringing in some pretty higher caliber, well-known artists. Adam's doing a good job there with booking for that kind of stuff. So it's. So right now, no, we actually don't have any shows lined up. We're now, I will tell you, in April, we're heading to Cleveland for a show that we're kind of excited about.
Whereabouts you playing out there?
I'm drawing a blank on the name of the venue right now, but
so
it's
played out there a bunch. So
it's right downtown Cleveland. It's called Mulberry. It's on Mulberry Lane, and I'm drawing a blank on the event, on the venue. Yeah.
So I think the only place I've played downtown in Cleveland was the House of Blues, and we played a festival there.
Was that with your old band?
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of people there. Nobody cared because, and we're just emo.
You just described every show.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people there. Nobody cared.
Yep, pretty much. But yeah, there's in North Central West Virginia, the lack of venues is really hurting the scene. And I've talked to a few people too that the bands, it feels like there's a lot of bands that just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, so I saw Jarrod Miller from Worst Kept Secret. He had a post about that the other day, and or no, he didn't have the post about it. Somebody else did, but he commented on it, and maybe it was vice versa. I don't remember, but he was talking about how it seems like the bands have just disappeared. And I mean, I think back over the last 5 years, it does seem like a lot of them have just dropped off the face of the earth. And it's where it used to be. There was bands every time you turned around. Now it's like there's 10, 15. And I'm not going to speak to the quality of all of them, but the you're still getting half of those are probably worth your time. So
yeah, I mean, it's something with West Virginia. I don't know what's going on, but I've got some things in the works that might help.
I would hope so.
So
I also have some things in work that might help. So we'll see.
That might be collabing on some stuff here to bring the music scene, pump a little bit of life into it, hopefully.
Yeah, it needs to happen for sure. And I think that's the thing, though. A lot of bands die off because there's no place. It's a quid pro quo. If there's not enough venues and you're not playing out enough, it kind of just seems like sometimes you forget to talk to your band members and bands just fade off.
Yep. That's, in a sense, what happened with After Atlas. Like we've, even 1, 2, 3, like that was the last show we played. But even trying to get there, like, being the only venue up this way, we played out of state more than we played in West Virginia. But that ran us dry,
Look, I mean, this is not to say anything disparaging about the state. I love the state. But, but I can go here and play a venue and have 20 people show up. I can go to Myrtle Beach where nobody knows us and have 150 people show up, and they're shelling out money for shirts and, you know, getting pictures with us afterwards. And, you know, it's just so crazy, the difference between what's happening here and everywhere else.
Yeah. And I've noticed that too. Like the last 2 times that we had ever played 1, 2, 3, we didn't sell any merch at all. Nothing. We had new shirts, we had stickers, all this stuff. Went to Myrtle Beach and we $200-$300 in merch easily.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know. I mean, you can't really say that people don't care. I mean, you know, you got West Virginia, which is one of the lowest income states, you know, and the public transportation is an issue. People can't go out to a bar and drink and get a, you know, there's not the Ubers, nothing like that around here.
Look, I think a lot of people consider like Clarksburg to Morgantown quite the jaunt, you know, and I mean, it's not, but still when you're thinking about like, okay, if I'm going to go out and watch a band and maybe drink and all that, can I drive to Morgantown and then drive back? And that's a factor. So yeah, it's limiting because, I mean, you basically have to have venues in every city for it to work.
And that's just not the case. And it's try to do something about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, so back on last year's models. So give me like a little bit of history, like behind like the name and behind, you know, what you're writing, like writing styles, things like that.
All right. So we basically rip off everybody. No. So the, if you're in a band and you say you don't rip off anybody, you're lying.
Yep.
I've
got a funny story about that here in a second.
Yeah, but so originally the band had a different name, and it also had a very different lineup. It was me and Tim and 2 other guys, and one of the guys left and the sound changed greatly. I was not the lead singer at that point in time. And when the sound changed, definitely felt like there was a need for a change in just everything. And one of the issues was that our old name, there was a label that came out that shared the name, and a couple, it was like, it just all sounds like, you know what, it's getting used everywhere, let's change it. So we had, my old drummer had to go buy a snare drum, and he was looking for a specific type, and he wanted a pork pie. And so we found this pork pie up at, it was up in Pittsburgh, I want to say, at Guitar Center. And it was a really, really nice pork pie that just got damaged in the wreck that we had. And the price on it originally was like $600.
They're expensive.
But he got it for stupid cheap. And so we went out to eat afterwards, and he was just wow, why did I get this so cheap? And Tim said, well, because it was last year's model. And we were all just sitting there. It was like, band name. And that was it. There's no deep meaning behind this. Everybody asked me, like, what's the band meaning? There is none.
There's none.
There is none. It just simply was a reference to an old drumhead, or drumhead, the drum, snare drum. Sorry, I can't get words out. And it just fit. Like, for some reason, the words just fit with what we were doing. It was instant. And so that was 13 years ago. We only had the other band name for like 6 months. And so, that's the story there. Now, our approach to writing has changed greatly. It used to be I did all the writing. And so songs like Maybelline, Owl, Heartbeat, those were all songs that I did a lot of the writing on. Now, a Heartbeat, I'll say that Tim brought the bass line in, and then I wrote the rest of it. And that was pretty much the formula for a long time. Is I would write some guitar parts. Tim would come in and be like, oh, but let's do this with the bass and change it up here. And then we got Jarrod. And for those of you who have never been to a last year's model show, you need to understand we have one of the greatest musicians ever.
He's so talented.
In our band. He is multi-talented. If it has strings, he can play it like my heart. And no, but seriously, if it has strings, he can play it. And he is phenomenal. He'll play keys with his hands, and he'll also be doing chording on the guitar, or he'll be playing the guitar and doing lead work while playing keys with his feet. It's incredible to watch while he's headbanging, by the way, like all at the same time. And so he started, like, it took him a while to really understand what we were going for, because I don't like to pigeonhole us as having a sound. There's a constant that runs between all of the songs. Typically, that's my vocals. But musically, I don't ever want to feel like we can only do this. And we don't. You come to a last year's model show, you're going to get a variety, but it all works together. And so now Jarrod has really taken over a lot of that, bringing song ideas, and he constantly is bringing song ideas. We probably have 50 unused songs that we just can't get to because he has so many ideas. So yeah, now it's kind of it's definitely more of a collaborative thing between all of us, but he definitely initiates a lot of the songs now.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure about that, because I know that we've spoken before, about, you writing the majority. I didn't know if it had changed. And
yeah. Lately, it's been a lot more Jarrod. I'm still stuck writing vocal lyrics. By the way, I hate writing lyrics. So if anybody has like a notebook or an old diary from like high school that you want to give me, I'll totally take it and turn it into songs.
I know a guy that writes some pretty decent lyrics that doesn't have a band right now. Zach, our singer. I talk about my band on this podcast a lot, and everybody's probably like, "Oh," and we get follows a lot on stuff, and it's like, "Sorry guys, we haven't posted in like 8 months."
Yeah, here's a show that we're not doing.
Yeah. So as far as Alice, your new single, did you do the writing on that one, or was that more of a collaboration?
So Alice, Alice was written after I heard a friend's experience, some things they were going through, and it got me. That was probably the last song that I wrote by myself. It started out as a riff, and I heard their situation, and it just got me thinking about how so many of us live in lives that are, we put on a mask, and we will live a complete lie. But in reality, that's not who we want to be. And it's not that necessarily the lie is a bad thing, or that who you are is a bad thing. It's not like, oh, over here they look like a good person, but really they're sinister. It's not that. It's just that they're not free to truly be themselves. And so when I started writing this, the idea of Alice in Wonderland came to mind. And you can either stay in that dream world, or you can and pretend to be something, or you can, wake up from that and be who you truly are. And I think it's a thing that a lot of people struggle with, especially nowadays with social media and all. We have, you can present anything you want and be anything you want on social media. And so I think that's a lot of what Alice is talking about, that the life we portray versus who we really are. And the fact is we're all messed up, and we all struggle, and we all have issues in life. And I think it's better to be real about those things, because otherwise they'll end up imploding on you. So
yeah, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I think like social media plays such a big part in so many things now. And the fact that like you're saying, you can be somebody on social media. Like there's people that I know, and I'm not going to drop any names here, but
Bob Smith
that will play this what seems to be this role, and this person that I'm speaking of has lured bands into thinking that he is some kind of big time promoter because he's got thousands of friends, thousands of people following him, and will work with a band, and the band is all for it because they're like, oh, this guy knows people. And turns out this guy doesn't go to shows, doesn't do anything for him. I don't know if he makes him pay or anything, but it's like, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
So I, not to go off on a tangent myself, we're just not going to go off on tangents, but we are. So I've been running into that a lot lately. Now that, especially with the hype train building up for all of this, and definitely I try to put out a more professional image when it comes to promoting the band and things like that, and how we do our photography and everything. And so that gets people's attention. It gets the right people's attention. It also gets people who are looking to pull one over on you. Yeah. And my recommendation to anybody out there is if you're a new artist and you're starting out and you've got people automatically coming in and saying, oh, you guys are great. Oh, I want to do this for you. I don't want to do that for you. Automatically, your warning system should be going off, because that's just not how the industry works. No, it's not. No. I mean, okay, there may be the rare exception. You're at a show and just the right person happens to be in the crowd at the right time. Happened to one of my friends, and it was perfect, and it blew up for him. But the majority of time, I've got people saying, oh, yeah, I've got a label and I do promotions and I know these guys and I work and then you really start getting into it. Oh, yeah, they do know them. But like you worked crew on a show.
Yeah, where you met them.
You met them. And you may have been a roadie on a 2-week tour or something like that. But yeah, and that's what I'm running into is a lot of these guys blow up their resumes. So just a fair warning to any new artists out there, be very, very slow to make agreements or to believe anything anybody says.
And I think I'm going to get off on something else here.
Not a tangent.
But everybody, and I know that you're one of the people who's asked me why I always work with Eric Kirkland. I mean, I love the product that he brings to the table. I love his producing, but he's not a bullshitter. Sorry to curse, but
no, he's
he's straightforward with you, and he doesn't lie about stuff, and that's what attracts me to working with him, is because he will be like, that sucks, or this is what I've done and this is what I can do. He's not like, oh, I can make you just sound so good. He's just like, well, yeah, I can make you sound okay.
And no, he does, and I don't have an issue with that, and that's a lot of what Zach does too. Zach's very that doesn't we presented some songs to him. He's like, and he just kind of nitpicked them, and he's like, I don't like that because that really doesn't fit you guys at all, at all. So and you need that because sometimes you think something's great. And another tip to artists: don't ever treat your songs and ideas like they're your babies. Every idea is disposable.
Yep.
You may think it's amazing. It may not work.
And if you present it to a good producer who knows what they're doing, they can take that song that's your baby, and if you're willing to work with them, they could make it amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
And, a lot of bands aren't really willing to do that. I've worked with some bands that were just like, I'm not changing anything. It's like, okay.
Oh yeah, If you have the attitude that you're going to go into the studio and you've got it done and you know how it's going to go, you're going to end up for a big wake up. Now, I will say we had a little bit of that with this just because we've been playing these songs that we're doing for this EP for so long. It's like, they're done. There's nothing else we're doing to them. And as I say that, we still changed some of them up. So, he did present, like, what do we shorten this or lengthen this? And, we did make some changes to songs that we've been playing for years. So,
is that tough to make it play now? Like, since you've been playing it for so long, is that muscle memory, almost like...
Yeah, well, so, here's a deal that happened. We played a show this past week where Jarrod couldn't be there. So I had to do
all of it.
I was even doing the feet key thing and all that jazz, right? And so I ended up having to rewrite songs that, by the way, I didn't know he couldn't be there until the night before.
So you didn't have a chance to...
So literally live, I'm like, we're playing Al, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never played this song. I play the intro, and then I come back in on the bridge, on the pre-chorus to the chorus. I don't play the whole song, and I'm like, what do I play on the verses? And so I just started doing this little riff that I just held it so that I could sing. And I was like, hey, I took it by Jarrod. I'm like, we're changing this up. So little fun accidents like that, they're great sometimes. So.
Yeah, and the nice thing about playing out live, if people there don't and haven't seen you, don't know the songs,
You can do what you want.
you can do whatever you want. That's what makes it great. As long as you stay, in the right key.
Yep.
Like
This song is out and now sounds like a Cyndi Lauper cover. Don't worry about it.
so. For anybody out there that's listening, where can they find you? Find your, obviously your single is on iTunes, Spotify under Last Year's Model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can just Google any of those and find that. And then if you go to our Facebook page, which is Last Year's Models, it's just at Last Year's Models. You can find us there on Facebook, Twitter, Last Year's Model, and Instagram, also Last Year's Model. So we're everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then there's a website that collects all those. That's lastyearsmodelmusic.com. So you can just go there and you'll be able to find all of our different links.
Oh, cool. So that's a little bit shorter today, but we don't have much time. It is actually noon on a Friday, so there's still a lot of day left that we can go and live our lives, do things that we need to get done. So again, this is Brendan with Last Year's Model. Make sure to check out their new single on iTunes and Spotify. It's called Alice. And Brendan, any final words?
Yeah, just thanks for having me. And, I appreciate everything you guys are doing for the music scene. And, just check us out, guys, and come out to a show, hang out with us, and buy some shirts, because that's how we feed the babies.
Drinking from your cup, I can finally taste the pain. I can see your smile, hiding that it's not okay. You're the queen of hearts, wondering how the tables change. Running through the fire, running through the rain, holding one another, trying to numb the pain. Running through the night, running just to find a way. Living in your dreams, where you can always stay a while. You don't have to go to drink what's brewing in the vial. Your love is like a wine, bleeding through an okay smile. Your heart is like a fire, like trying to tame a horse that's wild. Running through the fire, running through the rain, holding one another, trying to numb the pain. Running through the night, running just to find a way. And Alice, don't you wanna go home? And Alice, don't you wanna go home? And Alice, don't you wanna stay? No, and Alice, don't you wanna go